What makes a great beginning? You need to set the tone, sure, and a nice bit of action doesn't hurt either, but nothing beats a good mystery to kick things off. Case in point, these iconic opening scenes.
Who are you?
And just like that, Severance establishes itself as the eerie corporate office of your nightmares. Refusing to answer this voice's questions at first, the woman quickly spirals into panic and desperation, realizing that she's trapped in an unfamiliar and off-putting place where the only exit is locked from the outside. Only then does she agree to cooperate. There's only one problem.
Who are you?
That's the first question?
First name will do.
Director Ben Stiller creates such a paranoid, foreboding atmosphere from the get-go that you're immediately desperate to find out just what the hell is going on here. This unsettling yet appealing quality runs throughout the first 2 seasons of Severance, making it one of the most addictive, mind-bending, and exciting sci-fi mysteries in years. The first season of HBO's anthology series True Detective is one of the greatest whodunits ever put to the small screen.
This is a world where nothing is solved. Someone once told me time is a flat circle.
True Detective opens with a figure carrying a body through an open field in the dead of night. He then lights a fire near a tree. Cut to former detective Marty Hart in 2012, who's being interviewed at the Louisiana State Police about his eccentric partner, Rust Cole, and an unusual murder case from his past. Soon after, Cole himself appears in a separate interview. He looks rugged and disheveled, but that's nowhere near as disturbing as his demeanor and his recollection of the case in question.
Nature created an aspect of nature separate from itself. We are creatures that should not exist by natural law.
These days, we've got no shortage of compelling crime dramas on television, but it's hard to think of any that are as gripping or as terrifying as that freshman season of True Detective. Yellowjackets opens with a fierce cold open, in which we see a young girl in a sleeping gown being chased through a snow-covered forest. Caught in a panic, she suddenly falls into a trap filled with sharp spikes. Cut to 25 years later, as interview clips show various people discussing the accident of a New Jersey female soccer team whose plane crashed somewhere in the Canadian wilderness in 1996.
They were champions.
After those gripping few minutes, no horror fan in their right mind could turn down the chance to find out what happens next. Largely thanks to a compelling narrative structure built on jumping back and forth between the 2 timelines, Yellowjackets quickly became one of the most popular horror shows around when it debuted in 2021. A true survivalist gem with a stellar ensemble cast, the series offers gripping drama mixed with murder, cannibalism, and supernatural phenomenon in true macabre fashion.
We have to go back!
J.J. Abrams, Damon Lindelof, and Jeffrey Lieber's legendary series Lost begins with an extreme close-up of an eye opening up to stare at lush canopies somewhere in the woods. This eye belongs to a middle-aged man wearing a suit who's lying on the ground with scratches all over his face and body. As this unfortunate soul takes off and runs through the forest, he suddenly finds himself on a beach. And then, in an instant, it becomes clear what's actually going on. Within just a few minutes of screen time, Lost expertly provokes a ton of questions in its audience. And it never really lets up either. This was only the beginning of a story that delivered some of the most enthralling twists in TV history during its 6-season run. And while the show's ending would turn out to be just a little more divisive, you can't really deny the power of that opening. Based on Tom Perrotta's best-selling novel of the same name, The Leftovers begins with a stressed-out young mother taking care of a crying baby at a laundromat. Once she's finished with the laundry, she leaves and puts her baby in the car. Then, this happens.
Sam?
Chaos quickly ensues as we realize that the baby isn't the only one who's vanished without a trace. Cut to 3 years later, and it's revealed that 2% of the world's population vanished that day. As showrunner of the series, Damon Lindelof does his best to avoid the mistakes he had made in Lost a few years earlier, and The Leftovers is an undeniable testament to his development as a writer. Across 3 seasons, the show combines the baffling and the inexplicable with some astonishing interpersonal drama, exploring grief, love, faith, and hope in a way that's seldom been done so well on the small screen.
At that moment, I felt as if I owned the entire world. Exhilarated.
Squid Game kicks off with a black and white flashback to protagonist Gi-hun's childhood, where he plays a round of Squid Game with his friends.
If someone on the defense manages to push you outside of the squid's boundaries, you die.
This opening sequence combines a disarming sense of nostalgia with the subtle profundity of a kid's game. Hwang Dong-hyuk's directorial choices and the show's mesmerizing score work together to create a vibrant atmosphere here that instantly draws you into the larger narrative. Other than that, though, it's hard to say anything about Squid Game that hasn't been said already. The show's overall impact and power may have somewhat diminished by the divisive second and third seasons, but even they barely compromise the legacy of the one that started it all. Netflix's epic crime drama Ozark begins with Jason Bateman's Marty Byrde giving us a voiceover about money, the American dream, and society, as we see him drag two giant coolers filled with tons of cash through the woods in the dead of night.
It's about the American work ethic, the one that made us the greatest country on earth.
Right off the bat, Ozark leaves you under no illusion about who Marty is. He's smart, charismatic, and matter-of-fact in a way that immediately grabs your attention. Over 4 seasons, the show delivered a nail-biting, twisty, and suspense-filled crime odyssey that took us into the weeds of professional money laundering, drug cartels, and all the repercussions that come from that kind of life. Based on Gillian Flynn's best-selling novel, Sharp Objects opts for a more downbeat, melancholy opening than most shows. A delicately assembled montage takes us through the sleepy streets of Wind Gap, a small town in Missouri. The camera finally lands on 2 tween girls roller skating on the cracked roads leading out of their hometown. A little later, the two sneak back into their enormous home near the outskirts. The parents didn't notice the girls as they tiptoe their way to the room of a sleeping woman, attempting to cut her hand with a paperclip. The woman then wakes, and we learn it was all a dream. Or was it? Sharp Objects is as much an unconventional whodunit as it is a loopy psychological thriller. Just like its opening scenes, the rest of the show snakes its way into your head, creating a low-key yet evocative atmosphere led by a slow-burning plot that takes its time to unravel. This 8-episode miniseries is one of those book adaptations that manages to capture the vibe and appeal of its source material with serious flair, resulting in one of the most satisfying mysteries in the genre. Blake Crouch's sci-fi mystery Dark Matter begins with an unnerving scene in which a man opens the door of a giant metal cube, then steps into an unlit place with nothing but a flashlight. He looks around, trying to get a sense of what world he just arrived in, before the series' stylish and futuristic opening credits take us into the action. With its brief yet intriguing cold open, Dark Matter hits you right away with a puzzle that will gradually gain meaning as the season unfolds. Although it's all quite vague to begin with, there's also some potent foreshadowing of what's to come. The 9-episode freshman season revels in exploring alternate realities, as well as different versions of the same characters. Intricate, thought-provoking, and heavily character-driven, this Apple TV series offers up one of the best multiverse stories you'll ever see on the small screen. Dark doesn't leave anything up to chance when it comes to grabbing the audience in its first few minutes. After a succinct narration about the illusion of time told over footage of old photographs depicting people as children and adults, we see an idyllic house somewhere in Germany in 2019. Inside, a resigned man carefully prepares a note in his art studio. Once he's finished, he seals the note, leaves instructions for it not to be opened until 10:13 p.m. on November 4th, and then kills himself. Not many shows would dare to begin with a full-on suicide right out of the gate, of course, which is partly why Dark hits you so hard during that opening scene. You certainly can't say it's not bold. And the rest of Netflix's first original German-language series is superb too, finding a comfortable place among the most nuanced, complex, and tragic stories about time travel. From that shocking first scene to the end of the final episode, the show proves itself as a detailed and compelling mystery, as well as one of the most emotionally rewarding narrative journeys of the past few years.